Hi, my wisdom walkers. Have you ever had to check a boss? Of course, do it professionally and keep your job? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Life Lessons Learned. I'm going to share a time in my life when I was assisting a friend of mine, and she was having, shall we say, some touchy situations occurring at work. Now, this is actually going to be more than just one lesson that we're learning with this. As you guys know, if you watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that for me personally, I believe in not getting your meat where you make your bread. There's lots of reasons why it's best not to do that, but I'm going to go into a few just here. So one of the things is if things begin to get touchy um, at home or in your personal life, and you're working with that person, it can get touchy at work as well. And then also your colleagues, because of what may be going on in your personal life, but since your personal life is also part of your professional life, now your colleagues are in on the details of what's going on with the two of you. Another thing is if one of you gets promoted, the other can be or feel kind of slighted, and that can cause problems in a relationship. Now, truth be told, you don't even have to be at the same workplace and you can get a promotion and your partner can feel some kind of way. So I wanted to say that as well. In this particular instance, this friend was dating someone at work and everything was going well. But it turned out that this particular guy had just broken up with a different person that worked at the same place. So I'm just going to let that sit for a second. So, as with any relationships, people can feel threatened, um, not feel good about now seeing the other person with someone else. And trust me, I get it. That's why I moved out of town when I got my divorce. No, I'm just kidding. Detroit just wasn't big enough for the two of us, okay? In this case, the make matters even more worse, to make matters worse, this friend was dating a supervisor. So yeah, you can imagine how touch and go this can be. Again, that's with the whole issue of now if you can say a supervisor has coerced you into a relationship. This wasn't that case. So I want to make that up front. I'm just saying there are so many issues when you're dealing with people at work that you have to take into account. But back to this particular one. Well, this other person that the supervisor had been dating decided to start harassing and bullying my friend at work. Okay. It doesn't matter to me if it were at work or at home. Let's just get into it. So my friend would be, in the lunchroom at her own table, enjoying her lunch. And this lady would happen to come in and see her, and she would yell across the room, "There goes that B. She's a home wrecker. Da 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 da." And she's hollering it across the lunchroom where other employees and my friend are sitting and eating. Now, my friend is the type of person that won't initiate conflict, but she won't run from it either. So she was at work though, and she's a professional, and she decided not to give this lady any credence. So her thing was just ignore it. You know how our parents used to tell us, just ignore the bully. They'll get tired of bullying you and they'll leave you alone. That doesn't always work. But again, she was at work and she was like, well, as far as I was concerned, as long as she didn't put her hands on me, I was fine. So this went on, in the locker room. Well, I'm saying locker room, they didn't have a locker room, but they had a room where their lockers would be at. Locker room sounds like they're getting dressed or something, but where they would put their personal belongings before they would start work. So she would harass her there, harass her coming into work, verbally. We're talking verbally. One day, because my friend kept ignoring it, this lady, like most people, or most bullies began to escalate things. So she would follow my friend out into parking lot when they're going to their cars and tell her she's going to kick her ass and you know all the things that bullies do to try to intimidate you. So my friend was of course, getting to her wits end with this. And she was telling me about it. And I said, well, just, report it to the supervisor who you're dating. Ah, geez. But I mean, what else can you do? You want to go through the protocols of what you would need to do. And so, of course, she was mentioning that to him. And he, not wanting to put himself in a precarious situation, also, also told her to just ignore her. I'll talk to her and we'll get this taken care of. None of that worked. So when my friend was explaining all of this to me, I was like, wait, wait, hold up. You work for the city. The city of all places know what that bullying and harassment at work by an employee or supervisor or colleague or anyone is not acceptable, and they can definitely be liable for that. I said, so here's what I want you to do. And my thing has been through all of my life is when in doubt, write it out. So all of this verbal, I told him, and he said, she said, all supervisor will have to say is, oh, this is the first time I've heard about that. If it's in writing, it won't be the first time. You'll have it dated, they'll have something. So I told her, I said, I know you don't want to do this because, you know, he's a supervisor and you're in a relationship with him, but you're going to have to nip this in the bud. And the way to do that is to put it in writing. So here's what I would like for you to do. So I kind of gave her some pointers to put in there, and they were all professional and all brief, just a summary of what was going on. And I told her to give that to the supervisor because once they get that in writing, he definitely would not be able to say, what? I didn't know this was going on. No one ever told me about it. This is the first I've heard. So she did that. And I want to say it wasn't, she did that, like, I'm just going to say on a Tuesday. That Wednesday, the very next day, he got that letter and read it. She got called into the office. And they told her that they were investigating this. They were looking into it. And of course, because the lady had been hollering across the lunchroom and following her in the parking lot, they talked to other colleagues who had witnessed and heard all of this. And so people were like, yeah, we would kind of stand out of it. But they had to, get some other evidence that this was actually going on. So that same week, that lady got called into the office. And of course, as you know, these companies, especially when you work for the city or the state or the government, they don't give you a lot of ultimatums. You can either stop that behavior right away, you can get transferred to another location, or you can be let go, or you can decide to resign. So these were the type of options that this person was given. But before they did that with her, they called my friend back into the office and they asked her what would she like to see as a resolution. Did she want this lady to get fired? Did she want to press charges? The whole gamut. And again, my friend is not like a person that would be out to get someone's job or help someone lose their job. And so she said that to me. She was like, "Well, I don't want to make her lose her job." I was like, "She made her lose her job with her actions. You don't make someone lose their job. It has to do with what they've been doing." But we won't go there. So to shorten this whole thing up, she was able to get it resolved. The lady was given the option to transfer to a different site and location, and that if she were to see my friend at any of these different sites or locations and continued with her behavior, then they would let her go. And no one wants to lose a good paying city job. You're looking to retire from those. And that's what happened with that. But putting things in writing, like I said, I've always done that anyway. And it wasn't not intended to get someone else in trouble or anything like that. It's actually to just keep a record of what it is that we're doing, seeing where we can make improvements if needed, and then being able to move forward in a more positive way. So my whole thing is, keeping things in writing for myself, definitely on the job and in the workplace, and I do it if I'm in a volunteer situation. I'm like, my stuff needs to be in writing. I need to see what's going on and know what's happening. And like I said, if there's any improvements or anything like that, that would need to be done. So my friend's name, she said I can say it now. is May. And I say, I love calling her May because she thinks that she may be the best friend I've ever had, but she can take the May out. She actually is. I've known her for over 30 years, and I'll be sharing other stories that, well, antics the two of us have experienced over the years. So I'm on our own default and some with others. This is Sherry Grantley. My channel is Life Lessons Learned. You know, my mantra is knowledge is in the knowing, but wisdom is in the doing. And of course, the learning of a lesson is the application of it. So I'll see you, wisdom walkers, on the next run. And actually, speaking of work and jobs and supervisors, my next video, I'm going to talk about the 5 things to do to prepare for a layoff. So be looking forward to that. I'll see you later. Bye.